Disclaimer: this program contains graphic descriptions of real crimes. Viewer discretion is advised. All parties are presumed innocent until proven guilty in court, and this is a dramatized work of fiction crafted in the investigative true crime style you love. It does not depict real events or real persons. He didn't meet her on a dating site. He met her through a photo, one that seemed too perfect to be real, but when your heart is lonely long enough, even perfect starts to look believable. Ethan Mallard wasn't desperate. He was just tired of being forgotten. So when she called him husband, he believed her. When she said she'd fly across the ocean to start a new life, he waited at the airport with flowers in his hands and hope in his chest. But love didn't land that day because the woman he thought was his future was already someone else's wife. It started like every other lonely night. Ethan Mallard sat on his worn-out couch, scrolling through reels of people laughing, dancing, and pretending they weren't as alone as he was. The soft glow of his phone was the only light in the room. He was 36, a mechanic in Ohio, quiet, decent, and tired. He'd spent his 20s fixing engines and his 30s watching everyone else get married. His last relationship ended 4 years ago with a text that said, "You're a good man, Ethan." Just not exciting, so he stopped looking until the night she appeared. Her photo slid onto his Explore feed like a spark in the dark. A woman with deep brown eyes, soft curls, and a smile that felt like it knew how to heal something. Her name was Lyra Nasha. Her bio read, dreamer. Makeup artist. Waiting for what's meant for me. Ethan didn't follow her immediately. He stared at her page for a while. Hundreds of photos, all elegant but real, not overdone, not fake, just human. When he finally hit follow, he didn't expect her to notice, but 2 minutes later she followed back. Then came a heart on one of his old photos. Ethan standing beside his pickup, grease on his hands, wearing a shy grin. He smiled at the screen, a little embarrassed, and then at 2:14 a.m. the first message arrived. "Lyra, do you believe love can find you through a screen?" Ethan hesitated, thumb hovering over the keyboard. He thought about deleting the app, like he always did when conversations led nowhere, but something about her felt different. Her words weren't flirty, they were curious. "Ethan, I used to think no. But lately I'm not so sure." She replied almost instantly, "Lyra, then maybe we're both wrong together." That night they talked until dawn about childhood, about loneliness, about dreams that never seemed to arrive. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel like a background character in someone else's life. He felt seen. He didn't know it then. But that first high would cost him everything. It didn't take long for messages to become morning rituals. Before breakfast, before coffee, before the day began, Ethan would open his phone just to see that glowing blue dot beside her name. Lyra, the woman who said she dreamed in colors and prayed in whispers. Her voice notes became the soundtrack of his days, soft, accented, sometimes shy. She'd giggle after every sentence like she wasn't used to being listened to, and Ethan, he was listening to every word. She told him about her mother's little food stall in Accra, about waking up at 4 a.m. to help cook rice and beans before going to makeup gigs. She said she'd never met a man who asked her how her day really was. He told her about fixing engines in the bitter Ohio cold, about his dog, Diesel, who always waited by the door, and about the way his house felt too quiet when the wind blew through. She called him my hardworking man. By the second week, her tone changed, more tender, more personal. "Lyra, you know Ethan. I pray every day that God sends me a man who will protect me, love me, and build a life with me. Maybe. He already has." Ethan's heart stumbled. He replayed that voice note 5 times. He didn't know much about her world, but he knew sincerity when he heard it, or thought he did. So when she sent a selfie the next morning, no makeup, just sunlight on her skin and a shy smile, He saved it to his phone. She started calling him husband, at first as a joke, then like a habit. Every time she said it, Ethan's chest warmed, and that loneliness that used to sit heavy inside him started to fade. They talked about the future, about moving her to the U.S., getting her a visa, even marriage. Lyra, I can't cook for you every day. I'll take care of your mom. You won't ever feel alone again, Ethan, and I'll make sure you never have to work another hard day. She laughed softly. Lyra, then marry me, Ethan. It sounded like a fantasy, but somehow it didn't feel like one. Then one evening, she mentioned something Ethan didn't understand at first, something about bride customs. Lyra, my family, they're traditional. Before a woman leaves to marry, there's something the husband must do, a bride payment. It's just to show respect. Ethan hesitated. Ethan, how much? Lyra, it's not about money, but my mother said it's $4,000 for the ceremony, the papers, the preparations. Once that's done, I can come to you. Ethan blinked at the message. $4,000 wasn't pocket change. It was 2 months of his rent. But then she sent another photo. Her standing in a white lace dress, smiling, her hands pressed together like she was praying. Lyra, this is the dress I'll wear when I come to you. Ethan stared at the image for a long time. Something inside him whispered to slow down, but another voice, the one that had been lonely for years, said, don't lose her. He wired the money that Friday, $4,000 gone in seconds. She called him that night, crying, Lyra, my husband, you've made my family so happy. I can't wait to be yours forever. That word again, husband, and Ethan believed it. He believed all of it, because sometimes when your heart has been empty too long, even a lie can sound like salvation. For weeks, Ethan lived in a dream. He woke up to voice notes from her. Sweet, sleepy, full of promise. Every night she'd whisper, soon, my love, soon I'll be there. Just a few more days. She sent screenshots of her flight itinerary, Accra to Chicago, then Chicago to Cleveland. She even texted a picture of her packed suitcase, pink fabric, gold zippers, and a note taped to the side that read, for my husband. Ethan could barely contain his excitement. He told his coworkers, his mom, even Diesel the dog seemed to sense something was changing. He bought new curtains, cleaned the spare room, and filled the fridge with groceries she said she liked. Mango juice, yogurt, rice. He even bought a small bottle of perfume called Golden Sunrise, the one she said she'd wear on their wedding day. He'd never felt this alive. October 8th, the day her flight was supposed to land, he woke up before dawn, dressed in his best shirt, and drove to Cleveland Airport with flowers in one hand and his heart in the other. He stood at the arrival gate, holding a white card that said, Welcome home, my Lyra. The board showed her flight as on time. He waited. An hour passed, then 2. People came out, families hugging, lovers crying, children running into arms, but not her. He checked his phone. No message, no call, no sign of life. He opened the airline's app. Flight number was still there, landed, but she wasn't on it. He texted her, Ethan, Lyra, I'm here, where are you? No response. He tried calling, straight to voicemail. He waited for another hour, gripping those flowers tighter each time the gate door opened, until a janitor came to clean near his bench and asked softly, Sir, are you still waiting for someone? Ethan forced a smile. Yeah, she's just. Delayed. By noon, the flowers had wilted. By 2 p.m., the board no longer showed her flight. By 5 p.m., her Instagram page was gone. No trace, no story, no goodbye. Ethan sat there, staring at the screen of his phone like it was a window to a world that had suddenly closed. He scrolled back through their messages, every I love you, every I can't wait to be your wife. He tried to make sense of it. Maybe an emergency, maybe a missed connection, but when he checked the airline again, her name wasn't on the passenger list at all. She'd never been on that plane. That night, he went home in silence. The curtains he'd hung looked too bright. The perfume bottle sat unopened on the table. Even Diesel wouldn't eat. He sat on the couch, staring at the flowers he'd brought home, now drooping into themselves. Then he whispered to the empty room, "Please, just call me." But no one did, and somewhere across the ocean, a woman named Lyra Nasha was logging into a new account. For 2 days, Ethan barely slept. He refreshed his messages, checked her profile, her WhatsApp, her old stories. Nothing. Every trace of Lyra had vanished, as if the woman who called him husband had never existed. He even messaged her mother, the woman he'd spoken to once over video call, but the account had disappeared too. Everything linked to her was gone. That kind of silence, it doesn't just hurt, it haunts. On the third morning, as Ethan sat at his kitchen table, staring at the cold cup of coffee he'd been nursing for hours, his phone buzzed. New message, request Instagram. The profile photo stopped him cold. It was her. Same face, same eyes, same smile, but the name was different, Nonna Nyako. He opened the message, "Nonna, you won't be hearing from her again." Ethan blinked. His hands began to tremble. He typed back, "Ethan, who are you?" The reply came seconds later, "Nonna, her husband." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. He read them again and again, each time feeling something inside him collapse. "Ethan, that's impossible." "Nonna, is it? You really thought a woman that beautiful was waiting for you online?" Attached to the next message were 5 photos. They were wedding pictures. Lyra in a white gown, the same gown she'd shown Ethan weeks ago, claiming it was for him. Beside her stood a tall man in a gray suit, smiling like he'd already won. The caption beneath one photo read, "Forever starts here." Ethan's vision blurred, his throat tightened until he could barely breathe. The woman who'd called him husband had been someone else's wife all along. He wanted to believe it was fake. Photoshop, stolen images, a cruel trick. But the background was unmistakable. The woman was her. The smile was hers. He typed again, this time desperate, "Ethan, why are you doing this?" The man replied, "Nonna, because you paid for entertainment, not marriage." Then another message followed, one Ethan would never forget. "Nonna, my wife said you were lonely. We helped you feel less alone. You should be thanking us." Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. He could barely breathe. The words felt poisonous. He took screenshots of everything. Every message, every photo, every receipt from the money transfers. Then he drove to the police station, gripping his phone so hard his knuckles turned white. But when he showed the officer the screenshots, she sighed softly. "Sir, this looks like an international scam. We can file a report, but cases like this rarely go anywhere." Ethan sat there, numb, a grown man, humiliated, heartbroken, and powerless. But that night, as he sat alone in his living room, something strange happened. His phone buzzed again, unknown number, Ghana, a voice note. He pressed play. And what he heard made his blood run cold. "Ethan, please forgive me. I didn't mean to hurt you. He made me do it. He said if I stopped, he'd hurt my family." It was her, it was Lyra, crying, trembling, whispering. The message ended with a crash, something like a door slamming, and a man shouting in the background in another language. Then silence. Ethan stared at the phone, shaking. He tried calling back, but the number was already disconnected. The next morning, he took the audio to the police, but they said there wasn't much they could do. International jurisdiction. Unverified voice? It could be anyone, the detective told him. Ethan left the station feeling smaller than he ever had before. That night, he played the recording again and again, her voice breaking, her breath catching. Somewhere between fear and guilt, he realized something terrifying. He wasn't the only victim. And maybe she wasn't free either. After that voice note, Ethan stopped sleeping. He played it again, and again he made me do it. Every word felt like a riddle, every tear like a clue. He began noticing things he hadn't before, the timing of her messages, the background noises in her voice. Notes muffled, distant, always indoors, the way she'd never video call without turning off her camera halfway through. And that laugh, the one that once melted him, now sounded like someone laughing through fear. He went back through their entire chat history, this time not as a lover, but as an investigator. Every "I love you" was followed by a request. Money for documents, money for tickets, money for family customs. And each time she said husband, the next message was an invoice. He felt sick. He wasn't just deceived, he'd been studied, profiled, played, but there was something else in that recording, that plea. He said if I stopped, he'd hurt my family. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that Lara wasn't lying about that. There was a quiver in her voice that no con artist could fake. He decided to trace it. The number that had sent the voice note was Ghanaian, so he called his phone provider, then filed a cyber report with Interpol's fraud division. They took the documents. The officer on the call, a woman with a calm British accent, told him softly, "Mr. Mallard, I need you to understand something. These aren't just scams. These are operations, organized, coordinated, usually with someone controlling multiple victims on both sides." "What do you mean, both sides?" Ethan asked. "Sometimes the women you speak to aren't willing participants. Sometimes they're victims too." The idea hit him like a punch to the ribs. If she was trapped, then what he'd heard in that voice note wasn't a confession, it was a cry for help. A week later, the same man, Nana Nyako, messaged again. Nana, still looking for her. "You Americans are so emotional. She's done with you." Ethan didn't reply. He just stared at the screen. Then, 5 minutes later, another message came through, this time a video. It was blurry, low quality, recorded on a phone. Lara was in it, sitting on a bed, eyes red, lips trembling. A man's voice spoke off, camera in twi. She didn't respond. Then the voice switched to English. "Say it." She looked at the camera. "Ethan, please stop calling. I'm married." "I'm sorry." The video ended. Ethan dropped his phone. His body went cold. Every emotion, anger, heartbreak, pity collided in his chest. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Later that night, he forwarded the video to the cybercrime officer. She said they'd seen similar cases before. Romance scams built around real women forced to act out relationships online. They called it emotional trafficking. Each woman managed multiple husbands. Each man sent money believing he was her only one. Behind them, men like Nana. They prey on empathy. The agent said they use love as leash. Ethan couldn't eat for days. But then, on the 6th night, another message came, not from Nana, not from Lyra, but from a new account. No profile picture, only 2 words, "Lyra, help me." Attached was a single image, a reflection of a woman in a cracked mirror, her eyes swollen. Behind her, a man's shadow holding a phone. Ethan's heart dropped. The caption read, "He found out I called you." He didn't know what to do anymore. He wasn't chasing love now. He was chasing a ghost inside a nightmare, and the image haunted him. That cracked mirror, the reflection of fear. He printed it out, pinned it to the wall above his desk, and stared at it until sunrise. It wasn't just guilt anymore, it was obsession. Ethan replayed that old voice note over and over, listening not to her words this time, but to what was behind them. He heard faint sounds, footsteps, a man's laugh, something metallic clinking. He slowed the recording down to half speed, and that's when he caught it, a name. Faint, muffled, spoken in anger. "Kwaku, stop." He searched the name, Kwaku Asant, and what he found made his stomach twist. The name appeared on a 2020 BBC article, "Online Marriage Scams Targeting Lonely Americans." The man named Kwaku was listed as a suspect. He was described as a recruiter, someone who lured women into fake content jobs, then forced them to pose as romantic partners for foreign victims. The photo in the article showed a tall man in a gray suit, the same suit from Lyra's wedding photo. Ethan's hand trembled on the mouse. He wasn't just scammed. He'd been watching a performance written by a predator. That night, he couldn't sit still. He wrote emails to the FBI fraud division, to the Ghanaian embassy, even to journalists. Most never replied. The ones who did said the same thing. "We're aware of similar cases, sir." It's difficult to act without verifiable evidence or local cooperation. He stared at his computer until the words blurred into nothing, and then another voice note arrived. Same number as before. No text, no context, just 19 seconds of sound. He pressed play. "Ethan, he knows you're looking. Please stop. He's watching me. If you love me, forget me." A click, a muffled scream, then silence. Ethan's blood ran cold. He tried calling back, but the number was dead again, deactivated. He walked into his bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror, unshaven, eyes hollow. He whispered, "I can't just stop." So he didn't. Over the next week, Ethan began tracing every Western Union transfer he'd made. 5 payments, all received by the same name, Kwaku Asante, same man, same city, Kumasi. He called the Interpol agent again, his voice breaking. "You have his name now." "You have proof," she sighed. "Mr. Mallard, you're not alone. But please, don't try to contact him yourself. These people are dangerous." He hung up before she finished, because even if the world didn't care, he did. He booked a flight, Cleveland to Accra, departing in 5 days. He told no one, not his friends, not his mom, not even his boss. This wasn't about getting his money back anymore. It was about finding her, but what he didn't know was that Kwaku already knew he was coming, where in Ghana someone was watching him panic and smiling. The air in Accra was heavy, humid, and electric, buzzing with horns and heat. Ethan stepped out of the airport with a single backpack, clutching a folder full of screenshots, receipts, and one printed photo, the cracked mirror with Lyra's reflection. He wasn't a detective. He wasn't a hero. He was just a man chasing a ghost through another country. At the taxi line, a driver noticed his confusion and approached. "You look lost, boss." "You need hotel, Kumasi," Ethan said. "You know how far that is. 6 hours. "Maybe 7, Ethan nodded. "Then let's go." The road to Kumasi was long and winding, cutting through lush hills and small towns. He stared out the window at every market, every face, wondering if she was somewhere in one of them alive, afraid, waiting. When he arrived, the driver dropped him at a budget hotel near the bus terminal. Ethan checked in, locked the door, and opened his laptop. He had one lead, the name Kwaku Asante, and the address attached to the Western Union receipts, Bantama District, Kumasi. The next morning, he printed a local map, circled the area, and started walking. Every street felt unfamiliar, yet he couldn't turn back. He stopped at small shops, asked quietly about the name, pretending to be a business partner looking for him. Most people shrugged, until one man, an older shopkeeper, looked at the receipts and frowned. "Oh, this man, he changes names, but yes, I know his place, not far from here." The man drew directions on a scrap of paper, hesitated, then added, "Be careful." "He's not alone there." Ethan thanked him and followed the trail, heart pounding. He reached a two-story house behind an iron gate. The paint was peeling, but the yard was filled with cars, most missing license plates. He didn't go in, he just watched. Men came and went with phones, laptops, boxes. It looked less like a home and more like a hub. He filmed discreetly from across the street the entrance, the faces, the plates. Then he returned to his hotel and emailed everything to the Interpol agent. Hours later, his phone rang. "Mr. Mallard, we received your footage. You need to leave Kumasi immediately." "Why, what did you find?" "That address. It's part of a known cyber network, romance scams. We've been tracking them for months. You can't be there, you're not safe. Ethan's pulse quickened. Is she there? Is Lyra there? The agent paused. We can't confirm that. He hung up. That night, someone knocked on his hotel door. 3 slow knocks. He froze. Who is it? Silence. He waited a full minute before inching toward the peephole. No one. But when he opened the door a crack, he saw a small envelope on the floor. Inside was a phone memory card. No note, no name. He inserted it into his laptop, and what he saw made him gasp. It was video footage, dozens of them, of women sitting in front of laptops, rehearsing lines, one after another, reading from a script. Hello, my love. I miss you, husband. I need money for the visa. And in one of those clips, blurry but unmistakable, was Lyra. Her eyes were hollow, her smile mechanical. Behind her, a man's voice barked orders in Twi. Ethan paused the video, his hands trembling. The timestamp read Sept 17 Kumasi. She had been there, weeks ago. He sat back in his chair, heart pounding in his throat. He had proof now, not just of fraud, but of coercion. He emailed everything again to the agent, then backed it up online in case something happened to him, and something did. The next morning, when he came down to the hotel lobby, the receptionist looked uneasy. Sir, some men came here. Asking for you. What men? They didn't say. They left this. She handed him a folded piece of paper. In red ink it read, Go home, Ethan. Ethan didn't check out. He ran. The note in red ink burned in his mind, Go home, Ethan. But he couldn't, not yet. Not after seeing her face on that video. He hid out in a small guest house on the edge of the city, the kind where no one asked for passports or names. He turned off his phone, wrapped it in foil to block signals like he'd seen in movies, and used the guest house computer to dig deeper. He had one weapon left, the internet. He uploaded the footage anonymously to a journalist forum, attaching the subject line, Forced romance scam videos Kumasi, Ghana. Hours later, a reply came from an investigative journalist named Abina Mensah. Her message was short but urgent. I've seen these faces before. Don't go near that house again. Meet me tomorrow, Kumasi Mall, 9 a.m. The next morning, Ethan arrived early. He sat at a corner cafe, watching every passerby. When Abina arrived, she looked serious, short hair, black shirt, carrying a worn camera bag. You're the American? She asked. Yeah. Ethan Mallard. She opened her laptop, pulled up a folder, and turned it toward him. These are screenshots from a YouTube channel we took down last year, Lyra and Kwaku Vibes. Ethan froze. The names hit like thunder. On screen were videos, the same woman, the same man in the gray suit. Laughing together, cooking challenges, pranks, travel vlogs before the Instagram accounts, before the lies. The timestamps were from 2021. Her smile was the same, but freer. They were small-time content creators. Abina said, then the channel went dark. Around that time, reports of Instagram brides started popping up, all using her face. Same captions, same tone. She pulled up a notepad full of translated phrases. These lines, she said, they weren't random. They're templates. Each one tested to manipulate emotions crafted by Kwaku and his team. She scrolled through them, reading out loud, Do you believe in love that finds you through the phone? I'll make you breakfast every morning. My mother says I belong to you now. Ethan's stomach twisted. Those were his lines. Every word she'd ever said to him had been part of a script. He leaned back, shaking his head, so she wasn't real. Abina looked at him, eyes soft but honest. No, Ethan, she was real. Just not free. She showed him another file, a private police report. Subject, Kwaku Asant, human trafficking, digital fraud, emotional exploitation. We believe he controls several women, some willingly, some by threat. She explained, they work in pairs, the husband runs the scheme. Woman creates the illusion. Ethan whispered, so she was. His prisoner, partner, victim, sometimes all three. Abina sighed, she's not the first. And she won't be the last. Ethan sat there in silence, trying to process it. He thought of her laughter, her trembling voice, the way she'd whispered please forgive me before the call ended. Abina reached into her bag and pulled out a USB drive. Here, she said, the police are moving on his house tonight. If you really want justice, go to Accra tomorrow, file your testimony at the CD office, then leave the country. What about her? He asked quietly. She hesitated. If she's still alive? She'll be there. That night, Ethan barely slept. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above him, each rotation sounding like a clock counting down. He thought about how love had turned into an investigation and how his dream bride had become evidence in a case file. Before dawn, he packed his bag and boarded the first bus to Accra. As the city lights of Kumasi faded behind him, he whispered to himself, "Hold on, Lyra. Just hold on." But halfway through the ride, his phone, the one he'd turned back on, vibrated. Unknown number. He opened it. It was a photo. Lyra, in a car, eyes wide, a man's hand gripping her wrist. The caption read, "You should have gone home, Ethan." By the time Ethan's bus pulled into Accra, the heat felt heavier, like the whole city was holding its breath. He checked into a small hotel near Ridge and locked the door behind him. The picture he'd received still glowed on his screen. Lyra in that car, eyes wide, a hand on her wrist. He stared at it until his vision blurred, then forwarded it to Abina. No reply. He turned on the news that evening. Nothing about a police raid, nothing about arrests. It was as if the operation she'd promised had never existed. At 2 a.m., his phone buzzed again. Email from Lyra N. Subject line, "I'm sorry." His pulse quickened. He opened it. Inside was a single Google Drive link. He hesitated, then clicked. The folder opened to 6 video files, each named 1 through 6. He pressed play on the first. Lyra sat in a dim room, the walls bare, a single bulb above her head. Her hair was tied back, her eyes were swollen. She spoke softly, in English broken by tears. "If you are watching this, Ethan, it means I am gone. He said I must do this work or my mother will suffer. He says love is business, that men in America pay to feel wanted. I wanted to stop. I wanted to tell you everything." She paused, looking straight into the camera, her voice cracking. "But you were kind to me, the only one who asked if I was okay." Ethan's hand shook as he clicked to the next clip. She held up her phone, showing messages between herself and Kwaku, orders, threats, payments. In one, he wrote, "Tell him you love him, make him pay for the wedding." The 5th video was shorter. Lyra whispered, "He says we're leaving for Du by next week. He says there's another man waiting. Please, help me." Then the 6th file, only 5 seconds long, showed the door behind her bursting open. A shadow crossed the screen. The camera fell. The clip ended. Ethan sat frozen, breath ragged. He hit refresh. The folder blinked. File no longer exists. Gone. Every video, every trace. He checked the email again, deleted. The sender's address no longer valid. Within minutes, it was as if none of it had ever been there. Ethan called Abina. No answer. He called again. Straight to voicemail. Desperation pushed him back out into the humid night. He walked the empty streets of Accra with his phone clutched like a weapon, replaying the image of Lyra again and again. When the sun rose, he was sitting on the steps of the CD building. Inside, he handed his folder to a weary-eyed investigator. "My name's Ethan Mallard. I think I can prove a human trafficking case." The officer scanned the pages slowly, then looked up. "We've heard of this man," he said quietly. "Kwaku Asante, we're already looking for him." "Then you have to find her." The officer nodded but didn't promise. 2 days later, Interpol agents raided a compound outside Kumasi. 10 phones, 5 laptops, passports, fake marriage licenses, stacks of printed chat scripts, but Lara wasn't there. Neighbors said she'd been taken north the night before the raid. Kwaku escaped. The next morning, Ethan got one final message. No name, no number, just a text. You should have stayed home, Mr. Mallard. She was never yours to save. Then nothing. He stared at it for hours until the screen went dark and his own reflection looked back at him, tired, broken, haunted. He'd come searching for love. He'd uncovered a business built on pain, and somewhere a woman with his name still in her voice was disappearing again. The raid that was supposed to end everything only scattered it. When Kwaku vanished, it was as if he dissolved into the city itself, one more ghost among millions, but he'd left behind enough evidence to turn whispers into headlines. Interpol worked with the Ghanaian CID to build a case, a digital marriage ring that had siphoned more than $1 million from lonely men across 3 continents. They called the operation Broken Vows. From his hotel room in Accra, Ethan watched the news unfold on the flickering TV. Every clip, every photograph felt like a chapter torn from his own life. The passports, the forged certificates, the scripts he could recite from memory, and yet, through all of it, there was no sign of her. He gave his statement. Every message, every transaction, every recording. The agents promised to keep him informed, but days became weeks, and still no word. Then, one afternoon, his phone rang. A number with an unfamiliar prefix. He almost didn't answer. Then a woman's voice said, "Mr. Mallard, this is Officer Boateng with the CID task force. We believe we've found one of the women." His heart stopped. "Is it her? We need you to come in." He arrived at the CID office within the hour. The officer met him at the gate, her face unreadable. She led him down a corridor to a small interview room. A young woman sat there, wrapped in a shawl, her hands trembling around a cup of tea. It wasn't Lyra. "But she knew her. She helped me escape." The woman whispered. "She said if I ran, tell the police her name, Lyra Nasha." Ethan's throat tightened. "Is she alive?" The woman hesitated. "Last I saw her, she was trying to go home, north to Mali. She said her mother's there." Ethan exhaled slowly, the first breath of hope he'd felt in months. The CID officer leaned forward. "Mr. Mallard, you've done more than most. You should go home. Let us handle this." But he couldn't, not until he knew. A week later, he received an encrypted email from Abina, the journalist who had vanished after their meeting. The subject line read, "You were right." Inside were photos from the sting operation, Kwaku's safe house, the scripts, and rows of confiscated devices. One of the laptops bore a familiar wallpaper, Lyra's face, smiling in sunlight. Abina wrote, "They caught him in Kumasi this morning. He tried to run. He won't be running again." Attached was a second image, a small, grainy still from a security cam. Lyra stepping out of a car, looking over her shoulder, vanishing into a crowded street. The timestamp was 2 days old. She was alive. Ethan read the email 3 times, then sat back, overwhelmed. He didn't cry. He couldn't. There was no relief in knowing she'd survived. Not when she'd had to survive this. That night, as the city outside buzzed with rain and distant sirens, he packed his bag. He left his hotel key on the counter and one envelope for Abina. Inside was every document, every recording, every note. He'd done what he could. At the airport, before boarding, he turned his phone on one last time. There was a new message. No sender, just audio. He pressed play, her voice. "Ethan, thank you. Don't look for me anymore. Just know you made me feel real once." Then silence. He stood at the boarding gate, phone in his hand, eyes wet. For a moment the sounds of the terminal, boarding calls, chatter, laughter, blurred into nothing. He whispered, "You were real to me too." Then he turned and walked toward his flight. As the plane climbed above the clouds, the sun broke through, warm, golden, unbothered by everything left behind. He stared out the window, wondering if somewhere under that same sky she was free. The operation would go on for months, ending with 12 arrests and 40 victims rescued. But for Ethan, it ended there, in that quiet moment between sky and earth, where love, lies, and loss finally drifted apart. The return flight to Ohio was quiet. No chatter, no movies, just the dull hum of an engine and the endless dark of the Atlantic below. Ethan stared at the reflection in the window and saw someone he barely recognized, same face, same eyes, but hollowed by truth. He'd left home chasing a promise. He was coming back with a story no one would believe. When he landed in Cleveland, the air felt different, colder, sharper. Even Diesel didn't bark when he walked in, just wagged his tail once and lay back down, like he sensed something had changed. The house was exactly as he'd left it, unopened mail, flowers long dead, the perfume bottle still sitting on the table. He took it, uncapped it, and let one drop fall onto his wrist. The scent hit him like a memory, soft, floral, impossible. He whispered, "You almost made it here." For days, Ethan didn't speak to anyone. He read news about the arrests in Ghana, about the broken vows' sting, about victims across the world. Each headline felt like both justice and insult, because the world was finally paying attention, but none of it could bring her back. His mother came by one evening with dinner. She didn't ask questions. She just placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Sometimes loving someone broken doesn't mean fixing them. It just means you survived them." He nodded but didn't answer. At night, he dreamed of her, always the same image. Lyra standing in an open field, looking back at him, sunlight in her hair, no words. When he'd reach for her, she'd fade, leaving only the sound of her voice. "Don't look for me anymore." Weeks passed. He went back to work at the auto shop, avoided the news, avoided his phone. But one afternoon, while replacing a transmission, a coworker turned the radio on. A reporter was reading updates from Ghana. Interpol confirms the arrest of Kwaku Asante, mastermind behind a global online marriage scam. Multiple women have been rescued, including one believed to be his former wife. Ethan froze mid-motion, wrench still in his hand. The announcer continued, "Authorities are working to repatriate the victims and reunite them with their families." He didn't move, didn't speak, just felt something shift inside him, not relief, not closure. Something gentler. That night he sat at his desk and wrote a letter, not to her, to himself. "You can't rescue someone who never had the chance to be free, but you can choose not to drown with them. She wasn't your mistake. She was your mirror." He folded the paper and slid it into the folder where he kept her photos, the screenshots, the receipts, the whole painful archive of a love that never was. Then, finally, he deleted the messages. One by one, each "I love you," each "my husband," each "soon." When the last one vanished, the phone screen went black, and for the first time in months. So did the noise inside his head. He walked outside, stood under the pale Ohio moon, and breathed. Not healed, but lighter, and somewhere across the ocean, a woman who once called him husband was breathing too, maybe free, maybe not, but alive in the fragments of a story that would haunt them both forever. It had been 3 months since Ethan heard her voice, 3 months since he'd let her go, at least that's what he told himself. But every night, when the world went quiet, he'd still find himself scrolling through old headlines, searching her name like a prayer he couldn't stop saying. Then one gray morning in late March, his phone rang. The number on the screen was International Ghana again. For a moment, he thought it was spam. Then curiosity won. He answered, "Mr. Mallard, who's this?" "My name is Kofi. I'm a journalist in Tamale. I think I've found the woman you were looking for." Ethan went silent. His heart thudded once, hard. "Lyra, yes, she's alive, but she doesn't go by that name anymore." Kofi explained that during the aftermath of the Broken Vows raids, Several victims were relocated north for protection. One woman refused to give her real name but had scars matching Lyra's description. When he'd shown her a printed photo, one of the few still circulating online, she'd whispered, "I told him not to look for me." She said that. Ethan whispered, word for word. Kofi replied, "She wants to talk to you, but only once." They arranged a video call through a secure line the next evening. When the screen finally lit up, Ethan's breath caught. Her face appeared, thinner, older, eyes tired. But it was her, the same woman who once laughed through her sentences, now barely able to meet his gaze. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she said softly, "You look older." "So do you," he replied. Her voice wavered. "They told me you came here, that you risked your life for someone you didn't even know." "I knew enough," he said. "I knew you weren't lying when you said you were scared." She smiled faintly, a ghost of the warmth he remembered. "I wanted to tell you everything, but he was always there, watching." Ethan swallowed. "Where are you now?" "A safe house," she said. "They're helping me get back to my family. I'll have a new name soon, a new life." She hesitated. "I just needed to say thank you." He shook his head. "Don't thank me. Just promise me you'll live, for real this time." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "You still believe in people, don't you?" "Not all of them," he said. "Just one." A quiet smile crossed her face. Then she whispered, "He's still out there." Ethan leaned forward. "Kwaku. He had friends, people who helped him. Be careful, Ethan." The signal began to fade, her image flickering in and out. Wait, where are you exactly? Can I?" But the screen went black. Connection lost. He sat there, staring at his own reflection in the darkened monitor, her last words echoing in his head. "He's still out there." Outside, rain began to fall against the windows, steady and relentless. Ethan leaned back, exhaling, caught somewhere between relief and dread. She was alive, but the story wasn't over. For a few weeks after that call, Ethan tried to believe the story had finally ended. He went back to his quiet routines, fixing cars, walking diesel, learning how to live in a world that didn't talk back through a screen. But peace has a strange way of feeling temporary when you've lived through deception. It never really settles. It just waits. One night in April, while scrolling through Instagram to clear out old notifications, Ethan froze. A familiar face appeared in the suggested for you bar. Same soft curls. Same half smile. Same eyes that had once looked straight through him. The username @Lyra. Nasha. Official 2 new account. Same captions. He clicked. The page looked almost identical. Same tone. Same lighting. Same phrases that once drew him in. But the woman wasn't her. Younger, different jawline, different hands. The resemblance was perfect enough to fool anyone who didn't know better. The first post was a reel, her voice laced with sweetness. "Do you believe in love that finds you through the phone?" The same words that had started it all. Ethan's hands went cold. He scrolled down, hundreds of comments, men from the US, the UK, Australia, all leaving hearts and emojis. He clicked one profile, a middle-aged man from Michigan, posting about counting the days until she arrives. It was starting again. He tried messaging the account. "Ethan, stop this. I know who you are. I know what this is." No reply, but within minutes his account was blocked. The next morning, a new email arrived. No address, no name, just one line. "You can't stop love, Ethan." He knew what it meant. The operation hadn't died with Kwaku's arrest. It had just adapted, reshaped itself, found new faces, new stories. He took screenshots of everything and sent them to Abina, the journalist. Her reply was short. "We've seen these duplicates before. New recruiters, same scripts. It's an industry now." That word industry hit harder than any threat. It meant she was right. The scam had evolved past guilt and control. It was now a machine, an endless cycle feeding on loneliness, using the same tools that once connected people to destroy them instead. That night, Ethan sat in the dark, phone in hand, staring at the fake account. He scrolled through her feed one last time, then shut his screen off and whispered, "You win if I care." He opened his drawer, pulled out the printed photo of the real Lyra, the one she'd sent before everything fell apart, and slid it back into the envelope labeled evidence. Then he wrote 4 words on the front in black ink, "Let her rest now." The next morning, he deleted his Instagram for good. No farewell post, no announcement, just gone. But as he closed the laptop, he saw his reflection in the blank screen, and for a second, it looked like someone else was staring back. A reminder that once you've been part of a story built on illusion, it never really lets you go. A full year later, Ethan found himself back at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, the same place he'd once stood with trembling hands and a bouquet of flowers. This time, there were no flowers, no signs, just a folded photograph tucked into his jacket pocket. He didn't know why he'd come. Maybe to prove to himself that the world kept moving, maybe to leave behind the ghost that still whispered through his phone every time he closed his eyes. The terminal looked the same buzz of arrivals, same hum of voices. Families hugged, children ran, lovers reunited under flickering fluorescent lights. He watched them from a distance, a quiet observer in a place built for hellos and goodbyes. He walked to the same bench by gate 14, the same one where 12 months ago he'd waited for a flight that never arrived. He sat down slowly, letting the noise of the crowd blur into white sound. Then he unfolded the photograph. It was the one she'd sent, the selfie in the white lace dress, eyes full of something that could have been hope or fear. He placed it on the bench beside him, weighted by a coin so it wouldn't blow away. On the back of the photo, he'd written 4 words, "For the one who almost made me believe." He sat there a long time, watching the people, the planes, the faces that came and went. And then, in a strange way, he began to smile. Because for the first time since that first message, since the illusion began, he realized the story wasn't just about her. It was about him too, about a man who had been broken, used, humiliated, and somehow survived all of it with his humanity still intact. A young couple walked past, laughing, fingers intertwined. For a second he envied them, then he didn't, because he understood now that love wasn't a promise, it was a risk, and he'd already paid the price. When his flight was called, he stood up, looked at the photograph one last time, and whispered, "Goodbye, Lyra." Then he walked away. A gust of wind caught the photo as the door closed behind him, sending it fluttering to the floor. An airport worker noticed it, picked it up, and glanced at the image. A woman in a white dress, smiling softly. He looked around, found no one searching for it, and slipped it into the lost and found box by the gate. And just like that, the story of Ethan and Lyra ended where it began, at an airport full of strangers, each one waiting for someone who might never arrive. 2 months after he left the airport, a thick envelope arrived in Ethan's mailbox, stamped with Interpol's insignia. Inside was the final case summary for Operation Broken Vows, the official end to everything that had consumed his life for nearly 2 years. He sat at the kitchen table, Diesel asleep at his feet, and began to read. Subject, Kwaku Asante, arrested April 4th. Charges, fraud, coercion, human trafficking, digital exploitation. Estimated number of victims, 126. Total revenue generated, $1. 3 million. It wasn't the numbers that hurt. It was the words that followed. Many women participated under threat of violence. Several remain missing. The digital operation is believed to have regional offshoots still active. He closed his eyes. The machine was still running, just with new faces, new voices, new Lyras. Whispering through the dark corners of the internet, he turned the page and found his own name near the bottom. Primary witness, Ethan Mallard, United States. assisted in early identification of the operation's psychological recruitment model. He hadn't meant to make history. He'd only tried to save one person, but somewhere along the way he'd become evidence. Later that week, a reporter called, asking if he'd give an interview. "Your story could help others," she said. He almost agreed. Then he pictured those photos, those scripts, those hollow eyes staring into cameras, and he declined. Some stories weren't meant to be retold. They were meant to fade quietly, like bruises healing under skin. Still, the world moved on. The fraud ring became a headline for a week, then a podcast, then a footnote in a documentary. People debated who to blame: lonely men, manipulative women, digital culture, greed. But Ethan knew better. It wasn't any one of them, it was all of them. A system built on connection that didn't care who broke when it snapped. Sometimes he'd still get emails from victims who'd read about him, men asking how he got over it. He never knew what to say. There wasn't an answer. You don't get over being tricked into love. You just learn to stop checking if it was real. One evening, while cleaning out his laptop, he found a folder buried under old backups. Inside was the original recording, the first message she ever sent him. "Do you believe in love that finds you through the phone?" He stared at the waveform for a long time before hitting play. Her voice filled the room again, warm and alive, as if no time had passed. And for a heartbeat, he let himself remember the feeling of believing, of not knowing better. When the clip ended, he deleted it, not in anger, but in acceptance. Then he whispered to the empty room, "I did believe once. That's enough." Outside, a summer storm rolled across the horizon, thunder low and distant. He stood by the window, watching the rain streak the glass, and realized that maybe the story hadn't destroyed him after all. It had simply stripped away what was false. And somewhere in another country, someone new was typing those same words into a message box. "Do you believe in love that finds you through the phone?" Sending them into the void, waiting for another heart to answer. Late nights were quieter now, no pings, no messages lighting up the dark. But every so often, when Ethan scrolled through the empty inbox on his phone, he'd stop at the very top, at the first message she'd ever sent. It was still there, that single line that had changed everything. "Do you believe in love that finds you through the phone?" He'd never deleted it, not because he wanted to remember her, but because it reminded him what loneliness could make a person believe. He sat by the window, a cup of coffee cooling in his hand, and thought about how something as small as a message could build an entire world, and then destroy it. A few words, a few promises, a few heart emojis. That's all it took to make him rewrite his future in someone else's handwriting. He wasn't bitter anymore, just cautious. He'd learned that love, when it's real, doesn't rush. It doesn't demand payment or proof. It just stays. Still, there were nights when he caught himself imagining her somewhere, a crowded bus station, maybe, or a quiet house in the north, wearing a new name, holding a new phone, trying again to feel human. He hoped she'd made it. He hoped she'd found freedom, even if it meant forgetting him completely. The world had moved on, but the system hadn't stopped. Every day, new stories began: another Ethan, another Lyra, another promise typed into a glowing screen at 2 a.m. Love sold like a product, loneliness used like currency. He closed his eyes and whispered the words he wished someone had told him back then. If they find you through a phone, make sure they exist outside of it. He powered down his device, set it on the table, and let the silence fill the room, the kind of silence that felt earned, peaceful, whole. Then, faintly, from the speakers of that darkened phone came a small chime, an automatic notification that no longer mattered. He smiled, because this time he didn't reach for it. He paid thousands for a bride from Instagram. And what he got was a lesson the internet never teaches: how easy it is to mistake attention for affection. Ethan Mallard didn't die in this story, but a part of him did. The part that believed every message came from a heart, not a script. Somewhere tonight, another man is staring at his screen, reading words that sound familiar, typing back with hope. And somewhere else, another voice is practicing the perfect I love you. Because in a world built on screens, love still sends messages. But sometimes those messages don't come from the person you think they do. Until next time, this is Murder Book 360, where every story leaves a scar and every scar has a story. He thought he was paying for love. But what he really bought was a glimpse into how dangerous hope can be when it's lonely. In a world where connection is just a click away, people like Ethan still believe that love can cross oceans, climb screens, and arrive wrapped in promises. But sometimes the face smiling back isn't looking at you, it's looking through you. He didn't just lose his money. He lost the version of himself that still believed love couldn't lie. And maybe that's the cruelest kind of story, not one about murder or betrayal, but about faith in something that never existed. So before you send that next message, before you answer that hi from a stranger who seems too perfect to be real, remember Ethan Mallard, because love can find you anywhere, but so can the people who sell it. This was he paid thousands for a bride from Instagram. Weeks later, he learned she was married. You've been watching Murder Book 360, where every story leaves a scar and every scar has a story.